patiently waiting for the winds to calm long enough to be able to weigh those and then going on and taking another sample. But we're always on our snowshoes to provide us some stability, and we just have to wait out conditions sometimes.
Well, this flooding crisis across California has not just slammed homes, but it also has impacted businesses, and it is causing some big obstacles for the shipping industry. Los Angeles is a major port for the United States, and the torrential rains have slowed the movement of products around California as well as the rest of the country. Here to talk about this is the Everstream Analytics chief meteorologist, John Davis. John, good to see you here. So, a lot of people don't realize how important the LA port is for the rest of the country. I mean, I think the majority of the products that are ordered on Amazon, right, at some point can even be traced back to the LA port.
Yeah, so the LA port, along with all the other facilities, road, rail, port operations, and overall supply chain infrastructure, certainly California is one of the most important economic hubs for the overall transfer and commerce of moving things, not only across California, but also across the nation and the world, no question.
Have we already been seeing some shipping delays, and how long do you think this is going to last?
We've been seeing disruptions for when this kind of started late last week and over the weekend. And those disruptions involve all sectors of the supply chain. So ports, cargo airports, road, rail, even into the higher elevations and the big snows across the area. And those disruptions started to occur 5 or 6 days ago and look to continue as we go through, the next 3 or 4 days through the middle portion of this week. So many facets of the supply chain have been disrupted due to this atmospheric river.
Do you think that for us at home that this could either lead to higher prices for some of the things that we love, or do you think that what it's going to do is just provide just a temporary shortage for a lot of us?
Yeah, so it's delays in things, delays in movement of things like commodities and products. And certainly that delay can have an economic impact overall, but that really comes down to a long-term nature of this. If this continued for an extended period of time, certainly it gets into the economic realm. But for now, it's just delays in things that we want to get our hands on. And certainly companies want to sell here overall.
Yeah, so they definitely do. All right, John Davis, who is the chief meteorologist over at Everstream Analytics. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
All right, well, let's talk about what's going to happen for those of you over in the South. I mean, is this what you really want to see when you're on the golf course? And yeah, El Nino. Yeah, it's all as a result of seeing some of the rain showers that are going to be moving through. We'll likely end up seeing a repeat of that here over the next 10 days. So I had alluded to the fact that the reason why this was going to be happening is because of El Nino here. So we have a strong ridge of a high pressure that is basically centered off the coast of California. What that is basically doing right now is that is allowing the jet stream to develop what we call a little notch here. And once that notch ends up developing, that means we'll likely end up getting a system to develop right along where that jet stream starts to curve here. This is why we typically end up getting some severe weather, because what will happen is where you see the jet stream move, the direction that those winds are going to be moving is very different than what we typically will see at the surface. So you get a little bit more of that wind shear here. But notice how that low is going to end up continuing to push eastward. We're likely going to end up seeing multiple systems develop here as a result of this. The Climate Prediction Center basically telling us that the precipitation outlook for the southern plains as well as the southeast, well, it's going to be a wet one for many of you here. And for some of you, the good news is it's going to slowly start to make a dent here in the drought. I know some of you are seeing above average in terms of the rain, but most of you in Alabama, as well as even Mississippi, you desperately need the rain. Where the darker shades of green are, that is where we're expecting a moderate level of some rain, several inches of rain possible. But where you start to see that yellow, including just to the north of the Atlanta metro area, we could pick up on anywhere from 3 to about 5 inches of rain. So I talked about the rain deficit that some of you are seeing. Now, there actually is a rain surplus for Jackson, Mississippi, as well as Alexandria, Louisiana. You're anywhere from 3 to 4 inches above where you should be. Well, let's talk about Minnesota because it is known for its bitter cold winters, but that is not what some Minnesotans are experiencing right now. It's so warm, they're actually installing in-ground pools more than 2 months ahead of schedule. This pool company got a head start over in the South St. Paul area. The ground isn't frozen solid like it typically is in the month of February, thanks to a long stretch of above average temperatures.
Even the city that was pulling the permits and helping us with that process, they were really giddy too. They're just like, I can't believe this is happening. Our team's out here practicing in the middle of the winter time. You know, we're getting the cobwebs taken out. This kind of stuff in Minnesota doesn't happen. We're not putting pools in January and February.
I think it's also safe to say that guy is definitely a little giddy. This company has some big-time bragging rights for an early install here. All right, so for today, 163 million Americans are going to be above average. By the time we get to Thursday, it's going to be closer to 219 million Americans, primarily in the Midwest as well as the Plain States. Look at Oklahoma City, going to be topping out today right around the low end of the 60s. St. Louis, 54 degrees, going to be feeling a lot more like spring, right? And over in Chicago, going to be topping up by tomorrow in the upper 40s, and then Dallas, 68 degrees. Wow, oh wow. All right, well, coming up, we continue to monitor this deadly atmospheric river that is spreading across the West. Not only have we seen mud flows, but we've also seen downed trees that have led to the deaths of 3 people. We're going to continue to track the danger when we return.
For fast, natural.
After last month's massive solar flare added a 25th hour to the day, businesses are wondering, what should we do with it?
Bacon and eggs, 25/7.
You're darn right.
Solar stocks are up 20% with the additional hour in the day.
I'm ruined.
With the extra hour, I'm thinking company-wide power nap. Let's put it to a vote.
This is going to wreak havoc on overtime approvals.
Anything can change the world of work. From HR to payroll, ADP designs forward-thinking solutions to take on the next anything.
And deep breath in.
Did you know that people everywhere are recommending GoodRx?
My doctor told me about GoodRx to help us save money on our meds.
And my daughter told me about it. I take a lot of prescriptions. GoodRx helps me keep up.
My neighbor showed me the app. It helped me save on my kids' allergy pills.
Americans everywhere are sharing the savings.
Dropping off a prescription.
Great.
Another good reason to check GoodRx.
Clogged gutters can cause big problems fast. Until now. Call 833 Leaf Filter today for your free gutter inspection.
I've had terrible flooding problems on my porch. Now I understand why.
Right now, Leaf Filter is offering a free inspection on your schedule. Leaf Filter is a permanent gutter solution, so you never have to worry about costly damage from clogged gutters again.
Call us today and schedule your free inspection.
To schedule your free inspection, call 833 Leaf Filter today or visit leaffilter.com.
Used for 2 weeks, now it's a $1,500 coat rack. Didn't even learn smoke on the water. Broke her pinky. Pulled her groin. Glued it to the table. Babble? Interesting. Can she even speak a word of Spanish?
Lo siento, ¿qué dijiste?
Wait, really?
¿Qué? Son solo 15 minutos al día.
Start learning today at Babbel.com.
We are back. The Next Level Chef Battle.
Fox Weather Alert, thank you so much for joining us here this afternoon. I'm Jason Fraser. It is Tuesday, February the 6th, and let's take you inside America's Weather Center.
Our message to Angelenos is vital now more than ever. Stay safe and off the roads. Only leave your house if it is absolutely necessary.
A powerful atmospheric river slams the state with torrential rain and hurricane-force winds, killing at least 3 people. The rain resulting in hundreds of mudslides across the Golden State. In just 48 hours, LA got half of its yearly rain total. And listen to how Californians describe what they've been going through.
We looked outside and there's 1.5 feet of running water.
My bedroom is being flooded because the water is coming through that big mound of mud.
And I came out and I saw my car like that. You can't get to it right now. No, not really. The lights are out as far as I can see.
No lights at all, no street lights, no traffic lights, and just everybody trying to do the best they can pretty much with nothing to help guide them.
The area has been just inundated with calls for lines down, trees down, flooding, all kinds of stuff. It's been a very busy day.
There's been more than 300 landslides in the LA area alone, and more than 9 trillion gallons of water has already fallen across California since February the 1st, and that is enough to fill Lake Mead from its current low water levels. And this rain and flash flooding is only continuing to spread. This system could flood Las Vegas just in time for the Super Bowl Sunday. We got all that and much more here on America's Weather Center. Yeah, scary sound, right? A tree crashing into a home over in Sacramento on Sunday. It's just one example of just how powerful this deadly storm that has been rocking the West Coast has been. At least 3 people in Northern California have been killed by falling trees, and the deaths have come mostly in Northern California, where powerful winds have been the primary threat. We have seen hurricane-force winds. We're talking about wind gusts in excess of 100 miles per hour. When you couple that with the ground being saturated, that's been the reason why we've been seeing so many trees that have been toppling over. Meantime, we still have flood watches in effect, and we've been seeing a lot of these flood watches even expanding into Arizona, including the Phoenix area, as well as Yuma and Kingman. And for those of you that are in California, the worst of this is still not over. We still will likely end up seeing anywhere between another inch to possibly several inches of rainfall, especially just to the south there of downtown Los Angeles, where we have a flash flood warning. Speaking of the flash flooding, it is possible for Palm Springs, as well as San Diego, Prescott, Phoenix, as well as Yuma, Arizona, over the next 24 hours. So how did we come up with that 9 trillion gallons of water here? Well, basically, we took the statewide average, and we also took how many gallons of water per inch has already fallen. Then we took into account how much the state of California is per square mile. You multiply all of that, and that's how we got to the 9 trillion gallons of water that's already fallen. And my friends, we still have a lot more on the way here, but let's take a look at all of the rain totals so far. Anywhere between 5 to 13 inches of rain has already fallen here, and that's been the reason why we've been seeing an increase not only in the amount of roadways that have been flooded, but also a lot of these water rescues that have been happening. Let's take a look at some of these top rain reports. Over in Payan Peak, they have picked up on nearly 8 inches of rain. Over at Three Peaks, it's been closer to 6.25 of an inch of rain. And as I mentioned, we still got more rain on the way. We could pick up on anywhere between 1/4 of an inch to several inches of rain, especially for those of you in southern portions of California. Higher elevations will likely end up seeing some snow. Well, one of the people that has been watching this unfold here is Fox Weather correspondent Robert Ray. He's over in the LA area. And Robert, I think what's been most surprising to see here is just how much rain has already come down in just a short period of time, and how much it's crippled this lovely city of Angels.
Yeah, Jason, the past 48 hours have been nothing short of a nightmare for many people who live in these hilly areas in LA County. This is Beverly Glen, not only one of the places affected, but Hollywood Hills, Beverly Hills. And you look at the destruction here. Take a look at the mudslide up there on this hill. And I'll explain this. By the way, over 300 mudslides have been reported in LA County. And you see the foundation for the home at the base of that mudslide. Well, that home, Jason, is right here in shambles on top of a car right now. And then if you look, Jason, over in this pocket, you see even more destruction with looks like a carport fallen on other vehicles. And so, Jason, if we look at the entire state of California, well, you know, it's been a week. Let's have a watch. Streets across Southern California quickly filling up with water on Monday as an atmospheric river hovered over the region. The slow-moving storm dropping up to 9 inches of rain in some areas, causing landslides and sending debris through neighborhoods. Many communities evacuated as more rain fell.
Limit non-essential travel. It is safer inside. One of those things is the amount of rainfall, the low visibility, and then also the roadways of flooding. Just limit your chances.
It's the second major storm to hit the state in less than a week. The heavy rain, combined with already saturated grounds, is causing trees and power lines to topple. And to think that this part of the country has been in a drought for almost this entire century. Just 3-4 months ago is when that drought dissipated because of the snowpack and some of those atmospheric rivers last year. In Northern California, this storm left behind widespread damage over the weekend, with wind gusts topping 80 miles per hour in some places. Hundreds of thousands of customers were left without electricity.
No lights at all, no street lights, no traffic lights, and just everybody trying to do the best they can pretty much with nothing to help guide them.
State officials have mobilized some 8,500 emergency responders to help with rescue and recovery efforts. And there's been a lot of them back here live here in the hills of LA County. And you see, this is part of the home that has fallen and collapsed from the mudslide, a vehicle to my left, to your right. And be safe here. You have to. The mud is relentless in this part of California. And it's a light rain right now, Jason. Thankfully, I can't imagine if it was coming down like it has in the past 48 hours, what these hills would look like. The erosion would even be more intense. But, you know, as we've been talking about, this is not over. You know, if you go on these roadways down below and you drive these hills, you see boulders to the side, you see parts of debris, you see water still running, and that is an issue. But because the rain has slowed down, you're starting to see big trucks that are removing that debris, and that is a good thing. Unfortunately, 3 people in Northern California have lost their life. And of course, we know all these stories, despite all of the disaster that we see in the structures, are about humans. Jason?
Yeah, Robert, I mean, that's definitely some important insight there. I want to also talk about how difficult it has been to access some of these area roads. I mean, we've been seeing some video of the LAFD having to literally dig out roads in order to access people.
Yeah, it's incredibly difficult. And if I could illustrate for you and the viewers, I mean, this is a mess down here. I mean, imagine trying to take a vehicle through mud like this, and you see this is part of a gate here, but just look at the thickness of this and the piles of just debris and mud, and vehicles can't go through here. It will get stuck, and it's hard enough to even walk through it, let alone first responders or others trying to clean this up. So this is a situation that is not good for LA County, and to think they've been in a drought for 2 decades plus, and now these atmospheric rivers just wreaking havoc on the area. I worry about Vegas, I worry about Arizona coming up. This is nowhere over, and we know the Orange County to the south of us and parts of San Diego still taking on some of that heavy rain. Jason.
Robert Ray reporting from the LA area. Thank you. And Robert, we have some breaking news to tell you about here on Fox Weather. We're learning of the first Southern California death from atmospheric river overnight. Swiftwater crews from the San Diego Fire and Rescue recovered 1 body floating in the Tijuana River Channel. And according to the Customs and Border Protection, the person was attempting to cross the border through the channel. And shortly after, Swiftwater crews rescued 2 other people along the waterway's south bank. Some of heavy rain is expected to continue there this afternoon. That brings the total number of deaths because of this atmospheric river to 4 people. Meanwhile, let's show you some of the storm reports that are just also rolling in. Since Sunday morning, 500 storm reports of all of the different types of damage have been rolling in here. As we'll zoom in here, you'll notice one of the things that we've been seeing on and on throughout, not only this afternoon, but even in the overnight hours, reports of either mud or debris flows. This was over in the Hollywood area and even over in the Beverly Hills area where Max Gordon was. We've been getting reports of that as well. And what makes this especially dangerous is the fact that we have more rain on the way. So we could end up seeing more of these mud flows as well. Look at LA's rain. So far, they've picked up on 7 inches of rain, and that brings their February total to nearly 9 inches of rain. And when you go all the way back to October the 1st, that brings their total back to 14 inches of rain. It technically is their wet season. They're just not used to seeing so much rain within a short amount of time here. And we still got more rain on the way as well. Pasadena will likely pick up on anywhere from 1 to 2 inches of rain. Over in Anaheim, pretty much the same thing. Cedar Springs could be picking up on another inch to about 2 inches of rain, and same for those of you over in the Long Beach. And as I mentioned, this is going to continue for at least the next 48 hours. Well, coming up, more than 300 landslides and mudslides have been reported throughout LA, and some of you are even seeing some snow as well. We're going to track out the dangers coming up next year on America's Weather.
This is Rachel at Cardholder Services calling in.
This is how AG1 works to make healthy habits simple. Skip the mixing, matching, and juggling. And the nagging feeling there's a smarter way. AG1 works by making foundational nutrition easier, combining vitamins, probiotics, and whole food source nutrients into one comprehensive formula. One scoop every morning. The science is complex. The routine is not. Start simplifying your nutrition today at drinkag1.com.
You'll get better when you're not blamed for a condition you can't control. You'll get better when your pain isn't minimized, dismissed, forgotten. We will never stop trying to get better. Because when medicine gets better, all of us can get better.
I've always been prone to hair thinning. I'm genetically predisposed.
I just gave birth. I was under a lot of stress.
I started taking Nutrafol.
We test our formulations with the highest rigor of clinical trials, and we're the #1 dermatologist recommended hair growth supplement.
I noticed it becoming
Stronger and thicker.
Nutrafol has taken me back to the hair I was meant to have.
I am back to me.
Start your hair growth journey at Nutrafol.com.
My digestive health before taking Seed was a hot mess. I felt bloated, puffy, sluggish, gassy. I knew I had to change something about my gut health. DSO1 is the best probiotic that I've ever taken. After 2 weeks, I was off to the races. It makes me feel lighter, less bloated.
It made me poop every day.
I love this jar. This feels like home.
And another Fox Weather alert to tell you about a deadly atmospheric river tearing across California. More than 300 landslides and mudslides have been reported in the LA area alone. And it's made, unfortunately, streets look like mud rivers. I mean, this is what it looked like over in the Beverly Hills, California area. That homeowner literally having to dig his vehicle out just so that he can access the street there. We've also been seeing more and more LAFD officials trying to also help out homeowners today, really dig out of this. Now, this flood risk is only going to continue through today as well as tomorrow, hence the reason why you see all of these areas that are shaded there in green. That includes Barstow, Palm Springs, as well as San Diego, even extending over into the Phoenix area. You're going to be underneath what we call a flood watch. What that means is that the ingredients are there for you to end up getting some flooding. Notice, though, we still have that flash flood warning in effect for portions of LA County. This is all because we're going to continue to see not only some scattered rain showers for today, but all of the rain that is on top of some of these mountains as well as even these hills. It all will have to end up trickling down into some of these valleys here. San Diego, Yuma, Arizona, and even the Phoenix area, it is possible that we could end up seeing some flash flooding here. Look at all of the rain that has fallen here so far. I mean, it is mind-boggling to think that in some parts of California, they have received 6 months worth of rain in just 48 hours. 6 inches of rain just to the south and east of LA, downtown LA, and north and east of there, they've picked up on nearly 13 inches of some rain here. So that is the reason why some of you are going to end up seeing some flooding for today. We'll likely end up picking up on anywhere between 1/4 to 1/2 inch of rain for the majority of you across central and even northern California. Higher elevations will end up seeing some snow out of this, but the bulk of the rain over the next 24 hours is going to be in for places like Oceanside, as well as San Diego, and just to the south and east of the Palm Springs area. Even Vegas is going to be getting in on the action here as well here. Our exclusive Fox model basically showing us that we are going to end up seeing scattered rain showers for today. We're going to get a bit of a break from the moisture in the overnight hours, but then tomorrow afternoon into tomorrow evening, here we go again, more rain and snow. The onslaught of rain continuing to create an unstable situation in the Hollywood Hills area. Some people can't even get out of their homes after several hundred landslides were reported throughout California. Fox Weather correspondent Max Gordon is joining us now from LA with the very latest. And Max, I think what's been truly heartbreaking to watch here has been the fact that some people have been seeing tree damage. Other people can't even get down the street because the roadways are filled with mud and other debris.
Yeah, just a slew of hazards from this atmospheric river event that we've been experiencing here in Southern California. We're in the Beverly Glen neighborhood of Los Angeles. It's a very hilly, very steep area, and this is where one of those landslides struck. You can see the damage that it caused, essentially knocking this home off of its foundation. Mud sliding down the hillside because things are simply so wet. You have water still flowing down this hill. We've had a lot of rain falling in the area, around a foot of rain measured by some rain gauges here in the Los Angeles area in a very short amount of time. And so the soil is just so saturated, it simply cannot hold anymore. And we're seeing damage like the images that we're bringing to you here from Beverly Glen. Now, this really has been a statewide emergency, this atmospheric river up in Northern California. We've been seeing very windy conditions, trees falling over, and thousands have been without power. At its peak, around 1 million customers were without power up in Northern California. Now, that number is down to about 150,000 customers. One of those customers is actually my dad up in Sonoma County. He says that he's had his power knocked out since Sunday. Hopefully, his power will be restored, and power restoration efforts are still ongoing. Now, unfortunately, there have been deaths associated with this storm as well. 3 people have died up in Northern California due to trees falling over. In Santa Cruz County, a tree fell into a home there, killing a man. And in the Sacramento area, a person died when a tree fell onto him. 40 miles to the north in Yuba City, another tree fall event where a person died because of that. Now, down here in Southern California, there is some good news to report. In Ventura and Santa Barbara counties, evacuation orders have been lifted. So that is some good news there as the conditions have eased. And then but here in Los Angeles, well, things are still very treacherous. It is still a fluid situation as we can still see rain showers throughout the day and then into tomorrow, because the ground is just so wet, it's so saturated that mudslides still remain a large threat. Jason?
Max, I know some people have not been able to get back into their homes. Have local authorities been able to say when folks may be able to return back in?
Well, for homes like this home behind me, which is red tagged, people will not be able to return to this home. It is simply too unsafe for folks to go inside. Things could shift. The home could collapse at any moment. So people can't go in. There are 5 homes throughout LA that have been red tagged. 7 have been yellow tagged, meaning that people have been allowed to go inside, but they have to just get their belongings and get on out of there. So some homes are going to be uninhabitable, a tough situation for a lot of Angelenos.
Yeah, what a way to start off the year, 2024. Max Gordon reporting over in LA. Thank you. And while we continue to track the rain over in California, we are also going to be tracking the rain that is going to be impacting the southern plains as well as the southeast. Look at Shreveport, Louisiana on Saturday. I mean, it was raining literally cats and dogs, right? Unfortunately, for some of you, you've seen more than a foot of rain that's fallen over the past 2 weeks. And we got more rain on the way, thanks in part to this El Nino setup. So we got a strong ridge of a high pressure that is going to be centered just off the coast of the United States here. What that's going to end up doing is that's going to end up arcing the jet stream here. And we're going to end up seeing multiple different systems develop right here and continue to push eastward here. So that means we could see days upon days of either scattered or significant rain. And this means that for some of you, we could end up seeing some flooding here. So as you look at the Climate Prediction Center outlook over the next 10 days, they also are in agreement here that we'll likely end up seeing some greater moisture that's going to be falling through here. So where you see the darker shades of green, that includes Birmingham as well as most of you in Mississippi, there is going to be a moderate threat for seeing some significant rain. As you get into the yellows here, we could see some of those higher totals. I mean, I'm talking about 3 to 5 inches of some rain. And speaking of the rain so far, Jackson, Mississippi, already at a rain surplus of nearly 4.5 inches. Birmingham, you're nearly at 2 inches of rain here. And when you look at the drought monitor here, you still need the rain here. So even though we're seeing that surplus there, when you go back up to what we've been seeing this time last year, we still need more rain. Well, Fox Weather is your Hurricane HQ, and from damaging winds to catastrophic flooding, hurricanes are downright intense, and some of them are becoming too strong for a Category 5 rating, according to some scientists. Now, climate researchers from the National Academy of Sciences just put out a new study stating that nearly half of the nearly 200 Cat 5 hurricanes happened within the past 17 years. And the authors of the study argue that there should be another category created due to climate change, and any hurricane with winds in excess of 192 miles per hour should be classified as a Category 6. So the big question is, do we need to add another category? Joining me right now is my colleague, meteorologist Ian Oliver, here in studio to discuss here. So Ian, it's important to note right off the top here, Saffir-Simpson scale only goes up to 5.
Right. So I read this article on foxweather.com first thing this morning. I would urge folks to do so. There's a lot of interesting content in there. What the argument of the study is, what you were describing, Jason, is that because the scale is open-ended, the Saffir-Simpson scale goes up to a 5, 157 plus miles per hour. That's a Category 5. Because it's open-ended, it leaves the opportunity there for the public to underestimate a storm, and that's becoming increasingly problematic with warming oceans fueling rapid intensification. I think, Jason, this is solving a problem that doesn't exist. I lived down in Florida for 6 hurricane season. I promise you, nobody living in the southeastern United States on the Gulf Coast is seeing a Category 5 storm and saying, hey, if this was a 6, I would have left. there is respect once you get up, especially into that major hurricane scale.
You know, there's been a lot of back and forth, I think, in the meteorological community about whether or not we even need to overhaul the Saffir-Simpson scale, because it really focuses on the winds and the damage as a result of the winds. It doesn't really take into account other things like storm surge or, you know, other types of damage, tornadoes, etc. So, you know, I personally believe that the Saffir-Simpson scale does need to be overhauled. You know, maybe we can do exactly what we did with the Fujita scale. You know, now we have the enhanced Fujita scale, which really takes into account not only winds, but the damage associated.
The enhanced Fujita scale, which is also open-ended at the top, though. There's no such thing as an EF6 tornado.
Correct.
I do think what Dr. Michael Brennan said, the director of the National Hurricane Center, was very smart, and it gets at exactly what you were just describing, Jason. He said at the NHC, we try to steer our focus toward threats, including the hazards, storm surge, wind, rain, tornadoes, and rip currents. The Saffir-Simpson scale only deals with wind, and that's just one small element. We did see this year the National Hurricane Center make a change to the forecast cone, showing some of the alerts that they'll be issuing in conjunction with the forecast path, I think, to give more of a broad scale messaging. That, I think, is a very smart change. I don't know that we necessarily have to add to the top of the Saffir-Simpson scale.
All right, so to recap here, Ian believes everything should stay the same. I believe that there should be some changes.
Not
there.
the same. The NHC needs to work on messaging. We need to work on messaging, but yeah, Cat 6, I don't think so.
All right, Ian Oliver, always a pleasure. We appreciate you. Coming up, we are going to head back to Southern California to time out this ongoing threat. America's Weather Center returns right after this.
Do you listen to the TV on high volume? Or
why did we choose Safelite? For us, driving around is the only way we can get our baby to sleep. So when our windshield cracked, we can't drive this. We needed it fixed right. We went to Safelite.com. There's no one else we'd trust. Their experts replaced our windshield and recalibrated our car's advanced safety system. They focus on our safety, so we can focus on this little guy.
Safelite Repair, Safelite Replace. 90,000 new chemicals have entered our world over the last 50 years. Only 1% have been tested for safety. Can you feel it? With every breath, modern living is breaking down your barriers, weakening your defense against threats from your everyday environment. But nature holds a solution. Armra Colostrum. Armra ignites your body's ability to strengthen its barriers, cell by cell, unleashing transformation for your health. For life as it should be.
No matter how far you run, it's not a full workout. Your legs are hard at work. But what about the rest of you? Rowing on Hydro is all about full body fitness. You'll exercise 86% of muscle groups in just 20 minutes. That's literally twice the efficiency of running or biking. Don't ignore half your body. With Hydro, every row means an amazing workout and the best 20 minutes of your day for your entire body.
Rated the best hearing aids of 2023 by Forbes, the Audien Atom 2 series offers superior sound quality and functionality for a fraction of the price. The Atom Pro 2 is our smallest hearing aid yet, featuring advanced background noise cancellation, and is the world's first hearing aid with built-in UV cleaning that kills 99% of bacteria.
I could not believe how my hearing and life changed without seeing a doctor or having a hearing test.
And another Fox Weather Alert. Take a look at some of these dramatic scenes of a helicopter rescue across the LA area. Some people, unfortunately, they waded into the waters, and that is just not what you want to do. California has been hit with 9 trillion gallons of rain over the past 5 days. That is enough to fill up Lake Mead, which is currently suffering from historically low water levels. Los Angeles got a half of a year's worth of rain in just 48 hours. And that leads to more scenes like this one. This is a heartwarming rescue here. A man actually jumped into the LA River. He was trying to save his dog, and the man had to end up getting saved himself. You can see the LAFD was able to locate the man. He was able to get back on the land safely, and the LAFD was also able to locate his dog further down the river. Some good news to report there. By the way, we got to give a shout out to all of our first responders. They have been working overtime, not only saving people, but our four-legged friends. Meantime, no deaths have been reported from the flooding as of right now, but 3 people have been killed by falling trees in Northern California. It's just really a tragic situation. And for many of you, that's part of the reason why so many people have been encouraging residents to stay inside because of situations like this. Now, we just got an update from the National Weather Service. Some of these flood watches have actually expanded across California here. We've also been even seeing an expansion across Arizona as well. So about an hour ago, it was just the Phoenix area and west of there. Now we're seeing this flood watch extended east of the Phoenix area here, including those of you to the west of Phoenix over in Kingman, as well as Yuma, Arizona, and then the Las Vegas area, not underneath that watch, but areas north and west of there, we could end up seeing some additional rain showers that could cause some flooding. Meanwhile, notice how we have that flash flooding warning in effect just to the south of downtown LA here. Now, we're not going to see as much rain as we've seen the past 24 hours. However, we are going to see some scattered rain showers that could lead to some flash flooding for places like Palm Springs, San Diego, as well as even the Phoenix area. So please be incredibly careful. You might be wondering, how did we even know that all of this rain was going to be coming? And how did we get that 9 trillion rain gallons here? So what we do is we take the state average rain and then we multiply that by the number of gallons per inch per square foot. And then we also take the size of California. When you multiply all of that, that's how you get that number of 9 trillion gallons of rainwater. And that's part of the reason why we've been seeing so much flooding. And that's also the reason why we've been seeing so much in terms of mud flows as well as landslides here. I mean, some of these images that we've been seeing here in terms of all the rain is just mind-boggling. I mean, think about 13 inches of rain falling in one place. That's exactly what we saw happen just to the north of El Monte. And over in Los Angeles, I mean, they've even picked up on anywhere between 4 to about 6 inches of rain. South of there, over in the Long Beach area, they've picked up on more than 5 inches of rain just within the past 2 days here. And over in Manteca, they picked up on more than 6 inches of rain. Look at Pinon Peak. Hopefully I pronounced that correctly. About 8 inches of rain. Over in Three Peaks, about 6 1/4 of an inch of rainfall here. We still got more rain on the way between today as well as tomorrow. For most of you across California, this will likely be a rain event, but higher elevations will likely end up seeing some snow. Well, some messy weather is inching towards Arizona, and we're talking about seeing not only snow, but also some rain drenching the desert areas, and that is going to be leading to flooding chances. Let's bring in meteorologist Ty Brennan to break it all down. Ty, great to see you here. So, it's important to note here, Arizona not going to see everything that we saw in California, but there still is going to be a danger here.
There sure is. Yeah. And luckily, we are not going to see anything like they saw in California, but we are preparing for some of that wet weather. As you see behind me, things are fairly calm right now. We are starting to see those dark, ominous skies out there. And we did get some reports of some sprinkles earlier, but that is about to change. We are expecting things to kind of ramp up here within the next 3 hours or so. I've just been looking at some of the models, and they are saying that by right around 3:30 is when we expect to see some of that harder rain falling here in the downtown Phoenix area. And as you mentioned, there really is no place that's going to be spared from some type of weather. In fact, we do have some communities that'll be under a wind advisory. We could see some of these wind gusts in the northern portion of Arizona with gusts of up to 50 miles an hour. So we're preparing for the possibility of some damaging winds in those communities. And then you mentioned that flood watch. At first, as you mentioned earlier, it was just a small portion of Maricopa County, but now the National Weather Service has now extended that to the entirety of Maricopa County, as well as some of those western counties here in Arizona. And then on top of that, we have that winter storm warning as well for some of those higher elevations, especially above that 7,000 foot level. We could see some of those snow levels dropping to around the 5,500 foot level, and we are looking for some snow in the Flagstaff area north of the Phoenix area, anywhere from 8 inches to a foot of snow. So this could be the biggest weather maker that we have seen so far this winter. So we're kind of preparing ourselves and kind of hoping for the best as this storm bears down on us here in Arizona.
Ty, how often does something like this happen? Because, when I think of Arizona, I tend to think of the desert. It's dry. I don't tend to think that you can get rain as well as snow, but you can.
We sure do. Yeah, that is kind of the misnomer about Arizona, is that, a lot of people think that we are the dry, arid desert. But here in the winter, we do get quite a bit of rain. And in fact, we're looking for anywhere from an inch plus in some of these areas around Phoenix with this next storm. And then, of course, as you know, we get these monsoon storms during the summer, which can bring some significant rainfall in sporadic areas of the valley. It's not quite as widespread as our winter storms are, but some of those monsoon storms during the summer can really bring quite a bit of rainfall at one time.
So what have you been advising your viewers?
We've been talking a lot about that winter storm warning, just because we are going to see those winds whipping as well. So we could have blizzard-like driving conditions. So we've been warning our viewers here in Arizona about the dangers of what they could be seeing as far as blowing snow on some of those roadways, the ice, and then, of course, we work very closely with Arizona Department of Transportation, talking to them about road conditions, because some of these smaller communities up on those higher elevations really get hit hard with some of these winter storms. So we've been talking with them closely as well as we see this storm approaching Arizona.
Ty Brennan, appreciate your time, and thank you so much for your insight.
You bet.
Well, we continue to track this intense flooding situation as it impacts California. Power outages, heavy winds, as well as some floodwaters are all going to be making driving extremely dangerous. Fox 11 Los Angeles reporter Mario Ramirez is in the Inland Empire, where inches of rain still are covering roads.
Light rain right now, but it feels like it is just now starting to pick up here in this part of the Inland Empire. We're in Moreno Valley, and one of the trouble spots where we've been watching drivers slowly make their way through this flooded intersection, Ramona Expressway at Paris Boulevard. The water here almost a foot deep in some spots. It is slowly receding as the showers weakened early this morning, but they're expected to stick around. We saw heavier downpours. It did force public works crews to shut down the right eastbound lane of Ramona Expressway for at least a mile from Webster Avenue to Paris Boulevard, one of several areas where residents are seeing challenging driving conditions. Listen.
Lights are out as far as I can see.
No lights at all, no street lights, no traffic lights, and just everybody trying to do the best they can pretty much with nothing to help guide them.
The area has been just inundated with calls for lines down, trees down, flooding, all kinds of stuff. It's been a very busy day.
And we saw it ourselves. We witnessed an accident here this morning. 2 cars colliding at this intersection, one visibly speeding. And that is why safety officials remind drivers to take it slow, use your headlights, and try to stay in the middle lane when passing through a flooded intersection. Coming back out here live, you can see the response here to that accident. An ambulance here on the scene treating at least one of the drivers. We're going to stay on top of the weather conditions. We'll have another update coming up shortly. For now, that's the latest in Moreno Valley. I'm Mario Ramirez. Back to you.
All right, Mario, thank you. Well, we are learning about a group of 5 skiers that were rescued from an avalanche over in the Grand Tetons National Park on Sunday. They had to be rescued by helicopter from about 10,000 feet up on the mountain. 2 of the skiers were carried more than 500 feet down the mountain, and one woman had to be taken to the hospital with serious injuries. Now, this comes as feet of snow are being dumped across the west, thanks in part to that same atmospheric river that has been producing rain for many of you over in California. Now, we still have a winter weather alerts to tell you about, including for those of you in the central and northern half of Nevada, and then over in the Flagstaff and the Show Low area, and even extending east of there over in the Salt Lake City area, just to south of there. So please be incredibly careful here. Where you see the darker shades of purple, that is where we're seeing that winter storm warning in effect here. So we could end up seeing anywhere from just a couple of inches to possibly even a foot of snow. Now, because of the winds as well as the snow, we could end up even seeing some avalanches develop here as well. We do have an avalanche watch in effect for portions of Utah. And then as we get into Colorado, we even have that avalanche warning over in the Telluride area. So please be incredibly careful. So how much snow is possible here? Well, it really depends on where you are. We could be picking up on anywhere between just a couple of inches across Nevada to higher elevations across Utah, where we could end up seeing a foot to a foot and a half of some snow here. And for those of you right along the I-5 corridor, mainly going to see rain, but it's going to be the mountains, the passes, where we'll likely end up seeing more snow. All right, well, coming up, we have more rescues that are going to be happening across the LA area. And this is all thanks in part to that atmospheric river. We have a lot of first responders that are pretty busy, and they're unfortunately arriving at scenes just like this one, where a man had to be rescued after trying to get his dog out of the LA River. We're going to have much more on the other side of this break.
Gips has given me the control of my hair back.
Seeing the progress was awesome. Seeing my hair grow back so quick. I feel great. I feel confident. I feel
tired muscles and joints were keeping me from my family. Now I can be myself again. Blue Emu supports healthy muscles and joints.
Shop our expanded family of products at major online retailers.
We are definitely in the beginning of blizzard conditions.
Bone-chilling cold to sketchy snow.
When it's cold outside, Fox Weather turns up the heat.
What a storm!
Fox Weather is Winter Storm HQ.
Introducing Ned's Plaque Psoriasis. He thinks his flaky red patches are all people see.
Otezla is the #1 prescribed pill to treat plaque psoriasis. It can help you get clearer skin. Don't use Otezla if you're allergic to it. Serious allergic reactions can happen. Otezla may cause severe diarrhea, nausea, or vomiting. Some people taking Otezla had depression, suicidal thoughts, or weight loss. Upper respiratory tract infection and headache may occur.
Live in the moment. Ask your doctor about Otezla.
Hope you all like potatoes. These are fresh from my garden.
What? Is your garden in Idaho?
No, it's in my backyard.
Don't let this happen to you. Always look for the Grown in Idaho seal.
Fiverr. Find the right freelance service right away. So that's how they're growing so fast.
Yeah, I imagine they had way more employees than we do.
I mean, look at the number of projects.
Look at that frozen yogurt tab.
Digital marketing, AI experts, web design.
Raspberry mocha swirl. Unbelievable.
Should we try that?
I wish. I can't really digest dairy.
Grow your business with freelancers. Fiverr.
And we have another Fox weather alert to tell you about. Powerful rain as well as mudslides have been prompting rescues just like this one across Southern California. This is not one of those days that you're going to want to venture outside because of scenes like this one here. And you're getting a look here at some of the damage that was left behind by all of the rain that was left behind here. These are also some newer images that are coming in. This is from Fox 11 Los Angeles. Their chopper there. In the distance, you'll notice that we have quite a bit of cloud cover there, but from the ground, it looks like we have a lot of spots that are experiencing some flooding here across much of California. They have received anywhere from 3 to about 350 different either mud flows or some landslides here. And the threat is still not over yet. We could still see more rain between today as well as tomorrow. Where you see all of the green shades, that includes Bakersfield as well as Palm Springs, San Diego, Yuma, as well as even Phoenix, Arizona. You are underneath what we call a flood watch. That means that the ingredients are there in order to have flooding. But notice how we have a flash flood warning over in LA County. And this is going to continue at least for the next couple of hours because we still have some scattered rain showers that are possible. And in addition to that, we still got a lot of rain that is slowly trying to make its way either to some nearby lakes, rivers, or some of those tributaries here. So the best chance into tomorrow and seeing some flash flooding is going to be not only in LA, but also over in San Diego. And as we get into Arizona, Prescott, as well as Phoenix, it is likely that some of those spots will end up seeing some of this flash flooding. Now, why is all this happening? Well, we already have quite a bit of rain that's already fallen. Look at across California here. I mean, we've got 6 inches over here, 11 inches of rainfall over here, nearly 13 inches of rainfall is here. And notice how over in the Long Beach area, they picked up on anywhere between 4 to about 6 inches of rain. Where does all that water go? So typically what happens with some of these mud flows is you get all of that rain. It ends up being not only within the soil, but on top of it, and it ends up starting to move it in the area of least resistance. And the biggest concern that we're going to have with this is going to be the fact that we could end up seeing more rain for some of you across Southern California here. Look at LA and even the San Diego area. That is where we will likely end up picking up on some of the highest totals in terms of this rain. Well, while some of the Midwest is feeling like in early spring, not all of the country can say the same thing. Up at the Central Sierra Snow Lab over in Soda Springs, California, the last few days have been anything but warm as they deal with feet of snow. Now, yesterday, we spoke with their lead scientist on Fox Weather Now about this intense snowfall the area has received.
We're having very heavy snowfall rates of about 1 to 2 inches per hour, maybe even up to 3 inches per hour at times, and those winds that were whipping around that were causing issues. Now, those winds really reached a maximum overnight, and that's when we experienced those power problems. And yeah, we've seen the bulk of those 21 inches fall over a relatively short period because we did get a break in storm conditions yesterday. So kind of hazardous outside, but we're making it through it.
And Andrew, so you mentioned just an immense amount of snow has fallen over a short period of time. Talk about what this could mean for the future in regards to the potential for flooding.
Well, the big thing here is just that we have all this snow up here. Assuming temperatures stay around average to below average, it's not going to have a huge implication on flooding, as far as the snowpack is concerned, at least. If we end up with this period ending and then we go into warm temperatures or abnormally high temperatures, that's when we start to worry about the flooding a little bit. But for now, I think it should be pretty low.
Yeah, how much is this going to cut into the deficit? Because this has been, after what was this kind of rock star blockbuster season last year, it's a little sleepy through the first part of the winter, lacking events like this. And second, how do you get out and actually study this snow in a situation like you were describing to us when the wind is so intense?
Well, last month on January 1st, we were only at 28% of our average snowpack. And in just the last month or so, we've come up by 44%. So we're now at 72% of average snowpack for the entire state, which is fantastic. So these events have really cut into that deficit that we developed early on. As far as how we get out there, we're definitely bundled up in our jackets, of course. The challenge being that when we go out to do our measurements, we're also taking samples of the snow and weighing them on a scale outside to get how much water content is in them. So as you can imagine, with the winds whipping around, those samples in the tube tend to want to fall over one way or the other.